Ain't got no home, ain't got no shoes, ain't got no money, ain't got no class, ain't got no skirts, ain't got no sweater, ain't got no perfume, ain't got no love, ain't got no God. All right, there's Ben. Welcome back. We had a technical deficiency there. I gotta like tighten my game. Okay, it's happening, fool. It's happening. Those in the picture. Turnips from my garden. I'm going to be making turnip pickles later today, and I don't really have a camera. Maybe I should do a little video on how to make it. It's very simple. I'm just gonna do whatever. It's like not like a unknown recipe. I'm gonna take some beets from my garden, and yeah. But let's get back onto the topic of the day, which is Peter Joseph again, and how I feel he's being deceptive. And if he's not, I think he's just misrepresenting what he's all about, and I think he's making it clear. And for some reason, people are pushing back at me, but it's just like, yeah, this Abby Martin thing, where Abby Martin is still like platforming, not platforming. I mean, she's like, I guess she's able to speak to whoever, so it's fine, that she goes on Rogan theoretically, I just don't know. Because she also has been going on, she's with the RT, and I'm just suspecting of the Russia connection between the American far right. Is the connection I see is between the very far right libertarians, the oil people, Exxon, Rex Tillerson. I mean, this is like an obvious connection. I mean, people are not acknowledging this part of the connection. It seems like, I'm not Russia, but it's like, come on, man. And Russia is our potential enemy in this conflict in Syria, where we have a clash of interests, where Russia has no way to make money. They're like Trump. They have no money except like $70 trillion worth of oil reserves. So that's kind of what that's about. And they want to sell that to Europe, and they want to keep, climate change under wraps and keep it all going. So they have this combined, they've cut a deal, in my opinion, right? Kind of obvious. Let's take a look at, I have a couple of videos lined up here.
The Venus Project. What is the Venus Project?
What is the Venus Project?
The Venus Project offers a new socio-economic system that isn't capitalism.
It's not capitalism.
Communism, socialism. Nor fascism. It's nothing like anything that has
not anything
tried before. It's not a dictatorship.
It's never been tried before.
Nor is it democratic.
It's not a dictatorship, nor is it democratic. Wait a minute. No democracy? There's no democracy. Okay. That's the Venus Project. That's his partner. So they do this. Yeah, they have this authoritative voice coming on. Authoritative hypnotic voice with, notice the hypnotic music and the authoritative hypnotic voice working together to install the same style. See, that's one thing too. Let's make that like number 9 is style of Doc. And we'll make that. Okay. Well, I'm going to do that now. So maybe this is the 9, my first 9. It's the same. That's the thing, is I see the thing over and over. And I know that it's like a formula that they grind out these documentaries. I don't know exactly who grinds them out, but we know where all the money comes from. Where the funding comes from is the people. Obviously, it's like not like that much of a mystery who wants to keep the status quo intact, right? It's really not. I mean, that's why people who come out with like anything, like you could talk about the central banks, but let's talk about like if taxation is theft, let's say who wound up with the booty, who wound up with the loot. We know who landed up there. And you'll see here, Peter Joseph is very, very hands-off about, well, let's listen to some. Okay, so that's number 9. It's just a style of documentary. There are other documents, even Loose Change is somewhat, you got to say, similar to the Zeitgeist documentary, where it's inspiring ideas. It all speaks of like a utopian society, but we're here. we saw in that clip where his partner Jacques Fresco is not. It's not even democracy. It's not socialism. Well, what's wrong with socialism? We never tried socialism either, as far as like in America, right? I mean, we tried a little bit with FDR and it worked. Just reforms of capitalism do work, and they do like provide material benefits for people, obviously. So I was like, what the fuck, man? It's obvious to me. It's like he's an obvious total fraud. Okay, so let's listen to this part I got queued up here, and then I'll go to my list, and we'll go through the 9 reasons.
There was something called socio-cyberneering in the 70s, which eventually was born into...
We're talking about Jacques Fresco, which I don't know, cyber engineering, yeah, that's what we must do, is cyber engineering. And this relates into like the cult of the singularity, where artificial intelligence, and this may be somewhat true, where artificial intelligence is going to figure out how it needs to help mankind, and then it's just going to do it by itself. Yeah, all right.
The Venus Project is a more simplified name. I think people have to be careful with what they label things. And this was very inspirational for me and many people to see that there actually was a guy running something that had a concrete set of plans.
And the concrete set of plans that he has is for a certain type of city, of how people will live in this round city. That's literally what it's all about. And we'll hear more, like how his plans fit into, and please just watch the Venus Project. Watch this all, it's all available.
That was easy to understand. I could say a lot about details that need to be expressed that currently are not being expressed by people that have been influenced by this, because there's a lot of meat that needs to be talked about in terms of how to redesign society.
But it won't involve democracy, because
away from capitalism and markets.
Away from capital, which I think we're all agreed that we don't want the organizing principle to be capitalism and markets, but the idea that you don't address that through democracy is like a pretty out there idea, although really not out there if you're looking through a bunch of other, a certain school of thought, the far right libertarians.
Where you take a true systems engineering approach, and it can be done. It's just, it takes a lot of explanation.
Cyber engineering.
Yes, in part. I mean,
it's just so hard for people to, I could just ramble on about the difficulty of explaining what the actual, it's like kind of like Xenu, where it's like, this is very cultish because we really don't know what he means. We don't know where it's going. Xenu like is the actual god of Scientology, but they don't tell you about Xenu on the first day. They tell you about Xenu after you've already invested like hundreds of thousands of dollars in what is supposedly like a sort of self-help psychology course.
I could only do so much with the solutions. That's about a fifth of the book, because you really can't understand solutions to understand the problem. So you can, people will just label you, of course. And part of the interest of the book, not to sidetrack too much, is that I wanted to get away from the duality that we deal with capitalism and socialism. It's this polarization of ideology that has been really stifling any type of transition outside of what is a completely outdated social model.
Is it a false duality between capitalism and socialism? Is it? Come on.
In the 18th century, it's an inviable system. So, but I won't go on that tangent yet.
It's a freaking joke. So I'd like to see like a real intellectual take him on and see like, and basically, Chomsky was extremely dismissive of him. I'll try to remember the Chomsky quote, basically, which I quoted the Chomsky quote to him, that it was all so abstract as to be meaningless, something to that effect. And then he blocked me on Facebook, shortly thereafter.
So back to the Venus Project. We'll get there soon, though. So Jacques opened that door for tons of investigation, not only of myself and other people, and he should be deeply commended.
Yeah, deeply, deeply commended. That's how he talks to, like a fancy, like kind of like sprinkles it with like fancy concepts and things like so like, oh, this is what smart people talk about and how they sound.
For that.
That's like what I say, even the very nature of like, watch this one lady bombards body language on, which she's an insane right winger. But she just made me think about, I was liking her, and then I realized, oh shit, man, she's like an insane Trump supporting right winger and Christian and gun nut. But it just made me realize that, like, yeah, we're looking at there was something called the believe me look, and that's like, yeah, the tone of like, I mean, I don't think I'm doing it right now. I'm just like talking like I normally. I'm talking too fast. I'm being like unprofessionally weird. I'm supposed to like understand how I'm supposed to be normalish, and more like other people act on whatever. So, but I don't. Obviously, I don't fully. I just do. I'm just me. But I'm just saying, like, what I even see, and it's just general. This could be a reason to. Let's add this to the top 8 reasons. I'm going to add this. I don't know if this is going to be number 10, because then I'm going to have to go back over. I might have to break this up into 2 or 3 videos, because it just keeps on being also his. I think I already wrote this one down. Yeah, just basically, I'm going to call this one gaslighting. Gaslighting. And this is related to, I always have this basically one. I'm going to cross this one out. He acts like, oh, crazy Bernie doesn't get it. Bernie is backed by, okay, that's my note. Yeah, that's why I'm saying he's not acting like someone who has a legit debate with Bernie. What would someone do who had a legit debate with Bernie? That's why I think he's gaslighting and trying to, crazy Bernie's ideas are, he literally said that we, because we're at a different stage of capitalism, cannot have Medicare for all. And that's basically the point. It's just like, or maybe very difficult to do, and he's like supposed to be some kind of like big public health advocate. And so like something that will provide all this material, support and comfort, and the jobs guarantee that's coming, it's just like, and all his policies. And, we could even think about, but he's not on board. We could also, there's something where we could raise taxes on rich people. We could do all this. This is within the realm of democracy. And when we have a great deal of, because the American public is not divided on the major issues as much as people think. People don't want the Waltons and the Bezoses and Kochs and the Buffetts and all these fools to have every fucking money and control everything. And that's why really I think society doesn't work, because this kind of unrestrained capitalism is just basically very undemocratic, because they're just able to obviously they're able to use their advantage in the market and garner a much higher reward for any value that they're actually providing. They're not providing any value. They're just using their advantage to extract it, obviously. And the fact that Bernie is just like, or Peter Joseph is not talking about this, just seems like, yeah, he's just snowing us over. It's just a total freaking snow job. That's why I'm saying he's not acting like someone who would have a legit debate with Bernie, because it's just like he's not making any sense. He said we can't do all these plans and that they'll make no difference, even though the majority of, if we did get together and we got people to, we know that if this is the way it is now, that there is not a democratic result, so that's all we want to do is bring a democracy to America, that we don't have now. We have fascism now. So he's basically, let's leave it a fascist way. Let's leave it exactly how we have it now, not get together in groups and vote and collectively change things. That's what he's saying. Or is he not? Please, if anybody happens to see this and thinks he's, somehow saying something different, has any sort of evidence at all, please.
And then Zeitgeist Moving Forward came out, and
He also had some cool sci-fi ideas like floating cities.
He was a great designer, so
floating cities.
He was able to visualize that world. That's a little subjective. Like that. In fact, that turned people off. So I want to live in a cold little round thing, but they don't understand the principles behind it. So then, 2011. Zeitgeist Denim built upon that. Zeitgeist Moving Forward built on that even more, and I extended the conversation to.
It's just a mode of thought. He's just thinking. It's just thought. That's all it is. It's just what does he call it? A train of thought. That's all it is. It's not a opposition to the progressive agenda. It's just a totally different way of looking at it that tells you that the progressive agenda is useless. pointless and will never work. That's all it is. He's not gaslighting you.
Lots of other individuals and studying human nature and systems theory and stuff like that. And that's been the final film. And I've been working on other projects since then that I won't go into right now. But that book was probably, after, of course, the creation was a good movement. And that happened in 2009. And that's the 10th year. I'm going on my way right now to Germany for the 10th annual Zeitgeist Day. So that's a really kind of, for me, it's a satisfying moment to know that this organization has been around that long. To the degree it's been influential is hard to determine because it seems like things keep going backwards on this planet. But I think seed planting is extremely important. You just never really know. You never know. That's why you have to be optimistic and keep on.
Just planting seeds is bullshit.
Too cynical, even though I'm still cynical. But I'm unhealthily cynical.
I'm going to just skip in here. He's just going nowhere. He drones on, and I'm healthily cynical. I mean, I know that capitalism, the markets, and blah, blah, blah will never work. Here's reason number one. Zeitgeist is a 501c3. I should have brought up a Wikipedia page maybe or something, but I'm just going to say my understanding of what a 501c3 is. It's basically like the tax exemption that a church gets. And he's basically, yeah, that's what it is. So like really, I'm saying this fits the pattern for being like a sort of a money funneling organization for the far right. You know, you have like the 911 Truth organization. I mean, if you go into the deep, wacky Wikipedia or wiki whatever, I mean, actually, the people who were involved with it, they were in the conspiracy world, and they got involved with the 9/11 Truth, and then they found out that, oh, there's just like this weird, thing where they would just keep funneling money, and then he would keep saying, and the guy would get on and kind of like, yeah, where I'd get all crazily angry for something. This is another just tell that you could see from a mile away where like Peter Joseph got mad at like the idea of the Koch brothers. The first time I saw this, I'm like, what? Wait. People who think he like this, I'm going to make this number 2. No, I'm going to finish the 501c3. But first I'm going to like make this number 2 is where he gets mad and repeatedly says that like the idea of, people who he mocks and ridicules, the basic, which this is, I'm not saying this, I don't know. I'm not an academic journalist or whatever, but the people who say that like maybe like Cenk Uygur and Kyle Kulinski and all the, Bernie Sanders would agree with this, and like, Tom Hartman, I think, Sam Sater, all these people. I think this is just like all the people I watch who I'm like bought into, basically, this sort of certain type of orthodoxy, I guess, where maybe I do somehow try to make allowances like for Bernie's like shortcomings that I don't see, but I see like really more like people like this pointing to his shortcomings, like using this sort of gaslighting. Oh, crazy Bernie, crazy nutty Bernie. Okay. So that's, and like, yeah, okay, the 501c3 thing, that's the church exemption. And I know that Trump was working to change the church exemption, but I don't know if he was able to yet. I don't know if that has anything to do with why he's actually sort of commenting on politics, but with the 501c3 church, you're really not supposed to have it. With that church exemption, with that tax exemption, you're really not supposed to say anything actually political. And that may point to why the 9/11 truthers too, because they're not supposed to really say anything actually, that was the critique of the conspiracy guys who like joined them and then found out that they were totally full of crap. That was their critique, was that they did not want to push Congress to actually investigate and push for the investigation. Of course, we know if you like look at a variety of sources, I think you can find out easily there's no way that like Building 7 was wired or any of the buildings were wired, etc. It was planes. Certain basic facts are that were reported by the mainstream media are totally true, and there wasn't a giant Jewish conspiracy to hide the entire truth of 9/11 based on the Zionist central banks. And that too, I'm not even sure. Like that could be another reason too. I just see you could think of so many reasons why, because he started out in the conspirasphere, and I don't know if I have that one down yet. There's another reason. Like I said, well, that's kind of like matches up with the style of documentary, like the loose change, the hypnotic music, the confident style of speaking, the futuristic, hopeful sort of speech. But when it comes down to actually like, oh, politics, right and left don't matter. I'm not. And they have this person on RT too, who of course RT is related to. I'm saying is like if there is a conspiracy, and that's interesting. I wonder what Thomas Hartman would say about this too, because he is at RT, and but I don't believe he has ever had Lee Camp on his show because he simply is not in the same camp. But he's not in the camp as camp. But that's an interesting question. Make a note. I mean, that's why there's so much bullshit to. If you wanted like I want everyone to just use these basic tools. That's why ultimately I would like this to be more like everybody would like learn about like how to watch, just media and be able like if Lee Camp is actually I don't believe Jimmy Dore is a propagandist. I think Lee Camp and Peter Joseph has this tip because they're not talking about economic populism and now they're negging Bernie's whole. They came out pro Bernie. Let's go through the timeline of all these people saying progressive. H.A. Goodman, Lee Camp. I could go on and on. I'll stop right there because I want to get on to the next point. They started out pro-Bernie, very pro-Bernie. Then they came out very, very against Hillary. This was David Souter. This will be number, I forget, I can cross off one list here because Souter. I have it written down, but now I don't know what I'm written down. Souter said that the Cambridge Analytica, and that's why I see, even though like Cambridge Analytica was just one, this is the idea of the whole idea that everybody's doing in internet marketing is they're targeting smaller groups and trying to fit their message to smaller groups, right? So that's basically, they're just taking that sort of technique of, that principle of trying to break up people into small groups and get their, and sort of like capture like whatever, like their little, that's why they have their issues, which are also the leftist issues, which also appeal to the libertarians, which is the privacy and the war and the, and they'll vaguely sort of, there's system, but then it comes down to when it comes down to actually addressing power, then you have Peter Joseph saying out of the blue, I think we have a consistency problem. I'm wise and I have like inspirational music and I have a very confident way of speaking. And this whole, so that this is how smart people think about the future and computers and designing cities. And that's what it's all about. It's not about the dichotomy, the false dichotomy between socialism and rampant capitalism. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's about power. It's about capitalism. He's wrong. He's wrong. He's wrong. He's an idiot. I mean, it's just like, I'm just saying, like, look at all these people for what they are. Lee Camp saying progressive H.A. Goodman. We have like, and the Tim Black, who I've always been saying is like totally full of crap for years. And then real progressive. So I had a weird thing with, because there's a weird, I'm going off in a million tangents. But that's the thing is I have been like studying this whole movement and all those people who flipped to some kind of weird, like Tatsuikeda and all these wacky nuts who are like sort of like joining in with the cabin lady. Hi, my name is Claudia, the cabin lady. Hi. How many minutes I got now? So I think that's a good length of a video. I'm just going to leave it there for now. So that's about like 6 or 7 reasons. And I'm going to like walk around, catch my breath, and like and subscribe and comment. Please. Say nice things, please. Ain't got no money, ain't got no class, ain't got no home, ain't got no sweater, ain't got no jacket, ain't got no circuit, ain't got no